Well, hello everybody. Okay, I think you can probably hear me, but you can't see me. So Mona, you can edit that out because the speaker view is not working. Hello everybody, welcome back to Aquarius Rising Africa with me, Chantal. Definitely your hostess with the mostess, because tonight I have with me the amazing Penny Bradley. Penny, how are you?
Uh, hmm, I'm doing pretty well today, actually.
That's amazing. Well, it's your first time on Aquarius Rising Africa, so welcome. And for our viewers who don't haven't heard of Petty Bradley before, wow, what an amazing lady. She is certainly a survivor of note, also part of the Montauk projects, the mind fracturing secret space programs, and an absolute wealth of information on various topics. I've actually heard you being interviewed by, I think, two other hosts. I'm not sure how long ago the interviews were done, but your information, Penny, is fascinating. So I really look forward to hearing what you have to say. But welcome and thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm one of those people that I didn't do well socially, so I tended to go into research. And so I have experiences and I have research, and I tend to talk all of it, but I will try to keep them separate so you know where I got what. So,
I love that. But I have to say, when I was watching your previous interviews, you're very concise in the way you explain things. You've got a very lovely way of explaining things, and you make extremely complex topics sound relatively simple to the layman's ear like mine when it comes to these matters, that's for sure. But you've definitely had a very, very interesting journey. And as I always say, how you survivors got through that is a miracle to me. And it's always a testament to the human spirit and the courage and the strength of the human spirit. And I really appreciate you speaking out about this. I know it's not easy for you guys as well. I think emotionally, mentally, it must always have some kind of an effect, no matter how okay, you progress and heal in life. And I'm pretty sure from what I'm seeing, you've done quite a bit of that. Um, but
I,
also,
I
mm,
tend to dissociate to do interviews so that I'm
right.
not feeling the emotions on air. I deal with them once I'm off air. Um, and sometimes it's harsh and still. Um, like we talked about before, I'm working on reintegrating 7 altars right now, and that brings me to a total of 45. And my understanding is that I had 2,200 to begin with. So I'm still a long way from finished. So
2,200 altars. Wow. I mean, to have three must be exhausting, let alone 2,200. I was actually doing a show with Holly Baglio earlier on, and she has 169 altars that she speaks of, and that she was sharing her integration process, which is really beautiful. And she said something so phenomenal. She said, it's so important not for survivors not to feel ashamed of their alters or personalities, because it takes so much strength to be able to be a facilitator or a body, right, for all these different altars. And
Yeah.
obviously, the different energies that each of them has been programmed to do whatever task, right? Because each of them
Mm.
would have a task of sorts. I mean, I can imagine that must be unbelievably unreal, surreal, actually. How have you managed that?
Most of the time, when one of them will pop up, it's missing time for me. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, what happened? I just lost 3 hours, and
Hmm,
I have a relationship. I have a wonderful man in my life. He shares my home,
yes.
and or I share his, however you want to look at it. But I didn't realize how hard it was for him until we were at, well, I'll just name him. We were at Eric Hacker's place in Anchorage, in Alaska, and his lady and my partner spent half a day comparing notes on what it was like to live with someone with alters. And I had never realized how difficult it was for him. It's actually, in some ways, it's harder for him than it is for me, because it's like, I will be okay, and then I will pop out, and the next personality may not even like him. And there's one in particular, he's told me that if she were a man, he'd punch her. She's that rude to him. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So, yeah.
Wow.
And I don't know what I did as a mother, but none of the children the agency let me raise will speak to me for longer than 30 minutes at a time. I have no idea what they think I did to them. I have no memory of being cruel, but it, so, you know, people think I'm okay because I'm public. I'm not. My motive for being public is I don't want this to happen to any more kids.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
this is not a good time had by all. This
Right.
this is not Buck Rogers in space. I don't
Right.
know if the younger generation even knows what that means, but this is not glorious. It's not wonderful. Even though they put us into these military situations and they give us rank and title, we're still slaves. This is
Absolutely.
human, this is human trafficking that I'm exposing. And it's done by
Right.
governments. It's done by the US government, it's done by the UK government, it's done by all of the Five Eyes governments. It's even done, well, every country that has nuclear weapons is part of this party. So
Wild.
that
Why
part,
nuclear weapons?
because they don't include you in the total overall program until you are at a level to have nuclear weapons. This is why North Korea, Pakistan, India have fought so hard to have them. This is why Iran is working so hard to have them, is because once you are part of the nuclear club, you join the secret space program and you get colonies off world, which means that if there's a nuclear war, your people will survive. Yeah, there's a whole lot going on behind the scenes that makes our politics on Earth make sense. Now,
Well,
You,
I am so looking forward to taking this walk down this path with you. But as excited as what I am to get onto that topic, I want us to maybe just reverse um,
yes,
and give
go back
us,
to the beginning.
yes, let's go back to the beginning. And before we get there, and we're going to get there, guys, I promise we will. I have to rein myself in here, but I think it's important that we understand your beginning. How did you get involved? What brought you to the point that you are now? Obviously, I you are call yourself the Nachtwaffenpilot.
Nachtwaffenpilot,
Yes, so that's
because
obviously a title. Mm,
I have served 91 60 and backs with the German fleet in space. Yes, I'm not doing 20 and backs, I'm doing 60 and backs, where I
wow,
fly the ship, the mothership, and sometimes an entire armada together. I'm
wow.
the pilot that flies it. And they don't call themselves Dark Fleet. Come on, people. Germans
Mm,
are not going to call themselves Dark Fleet in English. Get real. They call themselves Nachtwaffen.
right.
And it, whenever they say they're going into space, they use this poetic phrase, ins der Nacht, into the night.
Instant.
Okay,
Wow.
into the Nacht. So they're going into the night, and Waffe is weapon, and Waffen is weapons because there is more than one fleet. Every colony has its own fleet that is under the umbrella of Oberkommando. The same idea of Oberkommando that they had in World War II. Also, they're not Nazis, they're Germans, period. I was part of their team that we went back 400 years to start these colonies. These people are 400 years past World War II. You bring up Hitler, they have no idea who you're talking about. Hitler
Wow.
wa- Hitler was not allowed into space because that particular faction considered him a traitor to the German people
Why was that?
because he started off being a puppet, for lack of a better phrase, of the Tula Society, Tula Gesellschaft, put him in power to end the Weimar Republic because they were killing the people. And as he gained power, he replaced all the Tula Gesellschaft people with Jesuits. The Jesuits are who did the Holocaust.
Yes, we've actually done a show not too long ago, which was the greatest untold story of Adolf Hitler. I do believe it was called. I mean, I actually got struck for 2 weeks on YouTube for putting that show on, so it's on Rumble.
Yeah,
Um,
they're
where,
really, they get really pissy about anything that goes against the official narrative.
yeah,
There are subtopics I cannot talk about because in the United States they will put me in jail. So I'll say
I'm
that at the
sure.
beginning
Yeah.
so the audience understands why I don't go there.
Yeah,
Um,
no, absolutely appreciate that, definitely. But that is so fascinating because obviously in this documentary, it speaks about that. And Gary Wayne, and this is why I say a lot, Gary Wayne, who's a very well-known Christian contrarian, and he's kind of studied theology a lot, and he's super, super interesting. And he speaks about, and that it was him that triggered this for me, where he said the First World War was started by two scuffling cousins that were
Yes.
having an argument. And as we watch this, we watch how in this documentary, it's exactly that. And you see
Mhm.
how the Allies and the Russians were actually colluding, though, against Hitler. And
Yes.
they actually stole the German scientists. I say stole because there's no way, in my opinion, the Germans were happily going to go to the Allies or the Russians after the Second World War. I mean, I love the way they talk about Operation Paperclip as, oh, when the Nazis came to America. I want to know how those Nazis actually got to America. Can we talk about that? How did the
Uh,
Nazis actually get to
I
America?
thought you wanted me to go back to the beginning of my story.
We,
Okay,
we
so,
do, we do.
okay. So your audience knows there's a whole lot more to this than we can do in an hour. Okay.
Exactly. And we're going to do
This is
several
going to,
hours, Penny.
this is going to have to be a series. So,
Yes, agreed.
okay. I was born in 1955. Background to this. Okay. The German colony in Antarctica. The world knows it as Camp 211 or as Neuschwabenland. Had won the Battle of Operation High Jump in 1947. Admiral Byrd came back to Congress. He had told the media that the next World War would be fought with weapons that could go from pole to pole at incredible speed, and he knew this because one of them had cut a battleship in half. Okay. Congress clamped a shutdown order on him. He was no longer allowed to talk about it after he testified to them. So, 47, Truman was president in America. Truman refused to sign the peace treaty with the Germans in Antarctica. So, in the elections of 1952 and 1956, I when Eisenhower was elected, General Eisenhower, who had fought the war in Europe, was elected, and he was iffy about signing it. And so there was this thing called the flap in Washington, D.C., where there were all these UFOs that were flying over the Capitol building. Ike signed, that's what we call him, is Ike. Ike signed the treaty. He told the CIA, make sure some of us survive this. Now, I don't know exactly what was in the treaty. I do know that 150,000 Americans were turned over to the Germans every year because I was in that group. That was part of the treaty. Another part of the treaty was that if you went along with their program, that the Germans would allow you to say whatever you wanted about World War II. So the public's been lied to. But every government, every corporation, every science industry has at least one German on their board of directors now. And the entire shooting match is controlled through the director of the Trilateral Commission, who was Nelson Rockefeller, and it passed to his son or grandson, David Rockefeller. And they have a website where you can find out who that is since David Rockefeller died. So that person is the liaison for the Germans in space who actually are running the world. That is why no matter who gets elected, nothing ever changes. Now, I was born into this. Okay. There were two agencies called OSS. There was the one that was shut down was the one that was spy work. The one that was not shut down was the Office of Scientific Studies. They are who took me. Okay. Now, I recently found this out in a QHHT hypnosis regression session. My father had gotten himself in trouble. He was going to go to prison for doing something for the Teamsters Union back in the 1954. So he married my mom. She was pregnant with me. The OSS came and talked to him. They said, you know, if you let us take this child that your wife is pregnant with, and you won't miss her because we'll just take her out of time and bring her back. Then we'll erase all of your criminal charges and you'll be okay. They did not tell him what they were going to do to me. They did not tell him how they were going to use me. They did not tell me that it was not a one-time shot, that I would be taken over and over and over and over again. So, as far as he was concerned, I was born okay. They had to use forceps because I didn't want to come out. Well, I didn't want to come out because the process of modifying my DNA killed my twin sister. And I do have memories of that. So I didn't want to come out. But
I want to just ask you there, are you saying your mum was pregnant with a twin sister, obviously, and are you saying they were modifying your DNA whilst you were still in the womb with your father's permission?
yes, that's what I'm saying.
Did your parents have any knowledge of what they were modifying you into? What did they say to your
They,
parents?
they, I don't have the details of that. Both of my parents are dead now. So I can't go ask them. This is what
Right,
came up in the hypnosis. This is what my
right,
subconscious knew from hearing them talk.
right.
Okay. I know there was a twin sister because I had it's a religious thing, regression of memories. It was healing of memories. It was a process that was done in the 80s. I had it done in the 90s. So during that process, and it's a religious thing, so it was more psychic than normal hypnosis. I, I saw my twin sister dead in the womb. So I saw that for myself, and they had not brought it up. We talked about it after the session, and they were like, wow. But it was the technique. I don't know what they called it then, but it was the technique that they now call CRISPR, CRISPR, where they use chemicals to replace a specific gene sequence on a chromosome in every cell with a different gene sequence. And in my case, they used alpha draconian DNA for that sequence. So I
What is
have,
alpha draconian DNA? Can you explain that to us?
um, ET is real and physical. I know a lot of people think that they're just astral beings floating out there, sucking your life out of you, but they're not. Well, some of them are, but you know, life in the universe is much more complex and varied than people want to believe.
Right.
Okay. The Alpha Dracs run this section of the Milky Way. They are humanoid dragons. Some of them still have wings. They are much larger than we are. Um, I'm I was 5'7" when I was younger, and I come to their kneecap. They're much larger than we are, but they are also extremely psychic. They have psionic abilities that are so intense that a normal human, their nervous system fries, not from anything that the drac has done, but just from being in their energy field. So the modifications that were done to me, I can be around a drac all day long. No problems. I see three-dimensional layers overlapping all the time, but they look different to me, so I can tell the difference. And that's important if you're flying a ship through hyperspace because you don't want to come out inside a solid object. Okay, so that was why I was given that. I'm telepathic. And I work at not listening to what other people are thinking. Most people, I hesitate to use the word think. Most people, all that goes through their head are body needs. Most people don't think at all. It's just, I got to go to the bathroom. I'm hungry. I'd like to have sex with that. You know, these are the things that run through their heads. And I first off, it's intrusive to be hearing them because they think they have privacy. And another thing, I don't need to listen to that all day. I mean, come on. It's boring. I'm I can go into your head and look at all of the stuff that's in there. I just don't. I mean, it's a lot of work to do it, and I don't need to know it. I have enough trouble with what's in my head. Um, I can he I can't hear you now. Uh, you have no sound. Okay. Um, I can heat liquids at a distance, and that will be important in another show.
Wow.
um, what else can I do? I don't exactly remote view. I bilocate, but I have to be emotionally involved to be able to do it. Um, I have saved a couple of people's lives that way. I just got this sense that something was wrong and I was there and rescued them. And usually they see me briefly. It's like, well, I thought I saw you, but you were gone, you know, because it takes a lot of energy to maintain that. So it doesn't last very long, but I'm able to do quick things. So these are specific abilities that came with the Draco DNA. And that was installed in me before I was born. Now, there are photographs of me as a child before I was taken. And even in them, I have this far away, life isn't good expression. Sorry, but that's the way it went. So I don't
Right.
know. I don't have actual memories of that time. I mean, come on, I was 1, 2. Most people don't remember that. My first abduction was the summer before my 5th birthday. Dad was a light sleeper, so he had to have known these people were in we lived in a trailer house. And he had to have known these people were in the house. Had to. But he didn't stop them. And they didn't touch anybody but me. And I was little and I was wearing pajamas that Mama had made. And these 2 men in green fatigues, you know, Korean War era green fatigues, came in and got me. And they put me in a Jeep with a couple other kids that they had also abducted. And we drove from Central California to Langley, Virginia. Um, that's approximately 3,000 miles. It's a long way. It took a week. We drove mostly at night because they did not want the public to notice a military Jeep with children.
Right.
So this was
A little bit odd.
Route 66. If you listen to any American movie stuff, we talk about Route 66. It was the first cross-country highway. Well, maybe the second. I think Lincoln Highway was the first. But it was the first major interstate cross-country, and it was replaced by Interstate 15, um, I guess in the 80s. So we went through Highway 66. They were also building the maglev train system underground. So part of the way we were in this tunnel, and there would be this big light overhead hanging from a cable, and you couldn't see the edges and you couldn't see very far, but you could see from one light to the next. And that's how they drove because they didn't turn on the lights on the Jeep. And so we were in the daytime when we traveled, we went through these tunnels. At night, they were topside. But it took us a week to get from Central California to Langley, Virginia. I don't remember where the building was, but I know we were on the base in an old building and we were in a basement level that looked like a hospital. White tile on the walls, white tile on the floor. What wasn't tiled was painted white. All the workers wore white uniforms. We had a one white sheet, one white blanket on our cot. Everything was white, 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 white. And they put us in white cotton pajamas. Open in the back on the top, and a waist tie on the bottoms. And the first thing they did was start mind fracture. Now, I could go into details. I would rather not because I'll have nightmares for a while. The process starts with drowning because they had a regeneration tank where if you were in it, you had to breathe the gel. So they were drowning us to make us learn to to inhale the water on purpose. That was the beginning of the mind fracture, was drowning us.
How old were you?
4. Now, the mind fracture process is they push a child to the point that the child's mind has to choose whether to live or die. If they choose to live, they will put a bubble around this memory. Depending on how harsh the memory is for them, how big the bubble is, how much energy is in it. That determines how strong the alter is going to be. Usually the first alter in a series is the strongest because as they repeat, it's less harsh for the child. And you'll end up with, well, Stuart Swerdlow described it in his book 13 Cubed as a 13 by 13 by 13 cubic hierarchical array of alters, just as if the child's mind were a computer rather than a person. And those all started off as these trauma memory bubbles. So they are scars. They are not demons. And I've been subjected to 104 exorcisms by the Episcopal Church, which is Anglican for the rest of the world, because they thought they were demons. Everybody wants to
Demons.
tell me they're demons. They're not. They're scars. They're scars of trauma done to a child.
Yeah.
Usually by the time a child is 12 years old, they no longer make alters. So that's why they use little kids.
That's fascinating as well, because that's obviously 12 is such a significant number for a child because we've heard often the rituals, the 12-year-old rituals, the various 12-year-old rituals that they'll do. So it's obviously a significant age as
Mhm.
well. But it's interesting because obviously before that, the mind is so much more fragile and pliable, right?
Mhm. This is a process that was part of our heritage because back in the days when we were here with saber-toothed tigers and other very large animals, you could lose your parents and the child, instead of going catatonic, would simply not remember the event. And it would make it so much easier for the cousins to come grab the kid and raise it. Where if they
Yeah.
were catatonic, they'd just leave them. Seriously. You don't, they
Mm.
didn't waste resources on somebody that could not be okay. And that's kind of the attitude that they had in this program as well. Once we became catatonic, they just shoved us into the incinerator because there was no coming back from that. The regen would bring you back.
Shoved you into the incinerator. What do you mean?
If you became catatonic, they killed you. They were not going to waste any more time, energy, or money on you. When I got to Langley in 1959, there were 1,000 of us. 5 years later, after total mind fracture and training of the alters, when we were sent to Mars, and yes, the audience needs to know that's where I ended up, there were between 20 and 30 of us, and I'm sorry I can't remember the exact number. And we were sent to Mars together. We had a 2% survival rate.
Hold the phone. You saying that out of 1,000 people, 20 or 30 survived? Did
Yes.
all of them And I'm assuming you don't get to say, I don't want to do this anymore, I want to go home.
No,
So this is either you make it or you die.
yes. This
Ouch.
is what, okay, you talk to all of these survivors of the SSP, and they want to make out like we're crazy, but all of the people who are speaking now survived this.
Yes, exactly. That's
We're
exactly what
not
I'm
we're
thinking
not
of.
going to be normal. Okay,
Exactly.
people need to stop thinking we're heroes, stop thinking that we're normal, stop thinking that we're playing a game because we're not. We're talking about what really happened to us as small children. Now, some of them prefer to focus on what they did in the space program. And some of them do make it sound like Buck Rogers, but their mind has blocked that they were not there by free will. They were not given a choice. And so, what I've been talking about is trying to so embarrass these agencies that they have to convert to using free will adult
Yeah.
subjects. I mean, how many
They
people?
won't though. They can't because if you're looking at the adults, and I mean, if we're looking at this whole Montauk, and Penny, I was actually again saying earlier this evening, it's 5 years this week we're having our birthday on Aquarius rising.
Mm,
And the one thing I've understood is that the Montauk projects, and I know it wasn't only just at Montauk, um,
good, because a lot of people don't.
yes, but just in Montauk, there was 5 million kids that went through just Montauk, never mind all the others, right? And when you're
Right.
looking at this, you know, 1% of these children survived. 1%.
Yeah. At Langley, it was 2%. But once they did my mind fracture, they sent me to Montauk for 6 months. I was there fall of, okay, it was about October of 61, because you're in the other hemisphere, so your seasons are backwards of mine. Okay, so it was about October of 61 until about April of 62. I was at Montauk with the first team. The first team was testing the butterfly effect to see just how much we could change in the past without changing the current time. And the results were there are key individuals that affect history, and you can do whatever you want to the rest. It won't affect things. So you have to track those key individuals and make sure that what happens to them is what you want to have happen to them. And the later Project Phoenix, the one that most of the people that are talking were part of, they were going through and changing those key individuals to give the CIA more power in the present time. That was their entire goal, was to make the CIA unstoppable. Yeah, really.
They pretty much have, if you think
Yeah.
about it.
Well, after Junior, the folks that were in charge, and I've interviewed some of them, talk about how that they had specific missions to go back and undo some of the damage they had done. So there's a lot of stories about that. Those interviews are on my Odyssey channel. Um, I would not put those on YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube YouTube decide I did a Montauk roundtable with 12 of the survivors from Project Phoenix. And YouTube declared that it was inciting hate.
Oh,
And
yeah.
and they have not let me upload anything since. They haven't deleted everything yet, but that's the direction they were heading. So that's why my current work is on Odyssey. So,
They're insane, these people, you know. I mean, another Montauk survivor was saying the other day when he put his book, that was Christian Latour, when he put his book on Amazon, they banned him for life. He's banned for life from Amazon. I mean,
yeah,
for God's sake, now when you're looking at that, is that not obvious? Is that
it
not
should be.
obvious?
It should be. But
Anyway,
the masses out there want to believe that their government cares for them, that they're going to be okay, that that they have rights. And those of us who have seen the other side of government, we know better.
yeah, we definitely know better. We most definitely know better.
So
Wow.
it's really hard for common folks out there to make that leap that maybe their government is not what it looks like, that maybe the narrative that's being told isn't true, that maybe some of these conspiracy theorists know what they're talking about, and that maybe some of these experiencers and survivors are not delusional. This is a really big leap for the average person out there in any country.
Exactly. It
I
is.
mean, if I
It's
had a
for all of
dollar,
us. Mm.
if I had a dollar for every time someone decided that I was a demon, not demon possessed, but an actual demon, I could buy a house in California.
I love that.
So,
Absolutely. Yeah, no, don't worry. We regularly get accused of being that on this channel as well, which is very actually interesting. But anyway, maybe we should do a show on that one day as well.
um, yeah, demons are real, but they aren't able to possess you without your consent. So
Exactly.
if you have one, you have somehow consented to it. And if you
Exactly.
withdraw that consent, you can get rid of them. You're much
Exactly.
more powerful than you think you are.
Exactly. I fully agree with that. What was interesting, you were saying earlier on about the altars and the trauma, you know, the trauma in the altars as well. It was interesting as well. Holly was saying um, that she felt her altars were more programmed than entities. So she kind of had to break through the programming rather than the entities connected to the altars. What
I
do you say about that?
I have not run across entities in my altars. I do have one altar that has a Thelema seal on it. So
Right.
I don't know what's in there, but that one particular altar for a couple of months now has been doing what they call a blood flood, where that I'm looking through blood to see everyone. And that was part of why I was distant and didn't do interviews, is because I could not function like that. And since that I don't know how to remove that seal, I can't do anything with that altar. Now, I know you've interviewed Arkim Ra,
Yes. Oh, I
and
love Arkim.
he looked into that altar for me because he was able to see through it. And he said, "You don't need to worry about that one. Just pretend it's not there." Um, it. it's wonderful when your colleagues and, in his case, family members decide to protect you. Yeah, but
Right.
yeah, um, yeah, Arkim and I have a biological relationship that should best be dealt with in a whole show by itself. So,
I look forward to that, yes. In fact, it was our Kim that got you and I connected. So I
yes,
will definitely, that'll be a very, very interesting show, Penny, to see your and our Kim's connection. Well, I mean, as you've said, it is biological and it's actually obvious. It's obvious. If you look
when
at
you
our Kim and you look at you, it's like, hello.
we have photographs of the two of us standing next to each other, and it is really obvious that I'm his
I
mom.
mean, hello, mom, hello, hello, boy.
Yes,
Okay.
it's like, okay, we have same color hair. His is a little curlier than mine. Um, we have so similar features that it's you
Yeah,
can't
you can
miss it.
definitely see. You can see
So,
that connection there. But I know we're certainly going to, oopsie, we're going to be doing a series of shows as we go along. And
yes,
tonight or today, this morning, whatever it is for you, wherever we're going to be running this,
it's
um,
noontime here.
this afternoon for you. We
Yes.
I've really absolutely wanted to just get your how did you get into this? Because you've got such a fascinating story and you've got so many layers to share. And
How
I
how
always
did
love,
I how did I know about it? I
yeah,
have I had flashbacks all along. Okay. So in 2013, an NSA team from the Russian desk at Fort Meade. Now, these are Americans who speak Russian. Okay. The agent who activated me went to the Defense Language School. He was fully American. His parents had been missionaries in the Philippines. He already spoke three other languages, and he went to the Defense Language Institute and he learned Russian. So he spent an entire career translating Russian. And he was assigned to activate my memories because he had been my trauma twin at Langley. And
wow,
they knew I would trust him.
that's insane.
Yeah. And
So
because when I went public, he and his boss were both murdered by the CIA. Um, I can't even ask them why I was activated, but I was
I,
activated
that,
on purpose by them.
yes.
So
And
that's why
for,
I have more memory, more connection than most in the SSP.
right.
So, but as to why, your guess is as good as mine. The thing that makes sense would be they were in 2013 there was a budgeting competition between the CIA and the NSA. And me coming forward in that time frame would help them get more money. That's the thing that makes sense. But that's an awful extreme to go to just for money. So that's been my $1 million question is why did they activate me on purpose? So yeah,
Well,
we all have questions.
I think, what would seem obvious is that, okay, well, obviously you would be one of their assets and you were here to do a certain purpose at this time. Because
Yeah.
from what I've seen as well and noticed over the past 5 years, there's definitely been an awakening of
Mm,
trauma as well as good things. I mean, we have to realize we do live in the planet of duality. So good
yes.
things are also happening. But, I think
Yes.
it's good. It's important to look at the stuff that's holding us back and that which has been going on because we cannot heal that which we don't acknowledge. If we're not
True.
acknowledging the stuff that's going on, the survivors don't heal, the entities don't heal, the children don't heal, the planet doesn't heal. We have to collectively do that. And I think that for me is what's so important here. Um,
But what I have picked up from quantum physics is that the electric fields and the magnetic fields, you know, the plus and minus, have to stay in exact balance so there's no charge. As long as there's no
right,
charge overall, we have a physical reality. If either side wins, everything collapses and there is no more reality. So instead of becoming more and more and more polarized and fighting each other, what we really need to do is become less polarized and come back together in the middle. And I
exactly.
think that we will find that instead of a muddy gray, that we'll get the whole colors of the rainbow.
I fully agree. It's that beautiful saying, there are three sides to a coin: the right side, the left side, and the third side is the rim. And when we've understood each, the perfection of each part or each side of the coin, then we ride the rim. And it's
Mm.
like I always use that as I have a wheelie. We call it a wheelie. It's an e-wheel, like literally an e-wheel. It's battery operated. And my friend, who's a world champion skydiver, taught me how to ride this thing. But he had the time of his life teaching me because it just, I mean, I'm a yogi and everything. I've got balance and what have you. But gosh, when I first got on that thing, I was like falling. And I mean, it's like an electric, it's not a light thing, right?
Yeah,
So the minute I understood what it meant to ride the rim, that's when I could
yeah.
ride that thing. I understood that even though there is such a dark side in the world, there's perfection in that. And I'm not
Hmm.
saying it's right. And then on the other side of that, there's this beautiful, amazing light, God, creative energy, right? But without the dark, how do we ever really get to understand who we are? So it's almost like we experience both aspects. And when we find that understanding, that altruistic
Mm.
perspective, and are able to see things through the eyes of the Creator, right, in a more balanced way, we understand what it is that we're here to do. Does that make sense to you at all, what I'm saying?
That makes sense. I see the light as order and the dark as chaos. You need enough order for things to be stable, enough chaos for there to be freedom.
Exactly. I love
You,
the way you put that. I love the way you put that. Absolutely. And freedom doesn't mean you running around breaking everyone's house and stealing their goods and breaking into their shops, right?
right.
Um, that's the chaos, right?
That's the
Freedom as a
chaos.
place, it's actually a very still place within you that when you realize that stillness is not empty, it's full of answers, right?
Hmm.
Then from that place, freedom is born, and you act from that still place, but you act in a constructive way. You're not running around breaking things and expressing yourself in such a way, an angry way. The world is angry right now. My God, the world is angry. And you know
The
what?
world is
The
really
world actually
angry
has a
right now.
right to be. The world
Yes,
has a
I do.
right to be angry. We've been lied to. We've been bullied. We've been stupefied. But at the same time, we've also allowed that to happen to us. We've allowed the quick meals to come. We've allowed the fast foods. We wanted the impatience. We wanted the quick fix and everything, you know?
We want, instead of limiting our own family sizes, we wanted them to industrialize agriculture to feed us all.
Right.
And industrializing the agriculture is where we got all of these forever chemicals that are now in the food.
Exactly. Mm.
There's there
So,
are
we've
there are consequences to everything. And
exactly.
I have started telling people, choose wisely because you're going to have to live with it.
Absolutely. There's definitely consequences. Cause and effect, karma. That's all karma is. Karma is cause and effect. You
Yes.
know, that's really all that it is. So it's very, very, very interesting. Wow. Penny, I definitely look forward to several more conversations with you because we literally have just touched the surface
Yes.
of your story. And I find it incredibly interesting listening to the way you've explained it. And I really want to say thank you for that as well, because you've given such a wonderful explanation for the way, I want to say, the way they've done it. I mean, I'm still finding words for all of this craziness. To me, it's just like, you've got to be joking. How does anyone even think about that, let alone act upon that, let alone with a child or an innocent animal? Children and animals are equally as innocent, you know?
Well,
Um,
I don't know what all the threats are that the government thinks it's of the United States thinks it's acting on. I'll say that because I know there's been lots of rumors in ufology about different treaties with different ETs, and it's really hard to get to the bottom of them and find out what really happened because all of the documents were either destroyed or so deeply classified we won't see them for another 100 years. But at the same time, you can go with a rumor and what has happened since. Like you said, cause and effect. If there's an effect, there has to be a cause.
exactly,
And so
exactly.
I've been working backwards to find the causes and going with, okay, which rumor is closest to causing that effect?
Right. Makes perfect sense. Because that's the only way you can actually gauge that, right? Is through
Yeah.
experiencing it. It's one thing having it in theory,
Hmm.
but even though it sounds fantastic theoretically, to apply it practically is another story. There are so many subtle nuances, and these
Well,
guys know that.
part of the issue is there's this huge frac frac fraction, that's the right word. There's this huge fraction of the population that's involved in SRA.
Hmm,
And they are also involved in the SSP process.
right,
Um, I gave a conference presentation last month where I talked about how altars were created and where the technique to do so came from. And I tracked it back to the Mothers of Darkness. Now
right.
you have another person that you host regularly that talks about them. So
Yes,
all
Jesse.
all of this is interconnected. And if you
It's
don't track all the threads, you lose a lot of the picture.
For me, that's very interesting what you say. If you've tracked that back to the Mothers of Darkness, because when we've, as I say, Jesse's been on the show for 5 years now,
Mm,
and she was the role she was trained for was the Queen Mother of Darkness in the Four Mothers of Darkness. And
mm,
what she would say is that the role of the Queen Mother every night would literally be channeling from Lucifer.
right.
So doing the whole necromancy thing with Lucifer, giving instruction of what is required. And then she would then hand that information or instructions to the mothers of darkness, who were each heading up one of the quadrants. So it would make perfect sense. I mean, how it was implemented, of course, I don't know. Each one, I mean, I cannot imagine it was done in a pretty way. Um, but it makes a lot of sense that the Mothers of Darkness would be receiving that information direct from the Lord of Darkness, right? And then filtering it through into their different quadrants. And obviously, in that way, getting instruction from the Dark Lord.
Well, I tracked going backwards. I tracked the OSS technology to the Operation Paperclip Nazi scientists, to the actual Nazis, to the Tavistock Institute in England, to the Mothers of Darkness in Belgium. And
Wow.
the Mothers of Darkness moved from Belgium to one of the Nazi castles in Germany. So it came full circle.
N Neuwenstein, Neusch, Neu,
I
no,
can't remember the exact name, but yeah.
yeah. She speaks about Neuwenstein, I think it's called. And that's one of the names I can't pronounce. Usually I'm quite good with that, but I think it's
Usually I'm good with
Neuwenstein.
German, but
Yeah,
that one name
yeah,
that will not stick in my head. I have found
yeah,
there are names that will not stick, and I have to
yeah.
assume that that's programming because I still have
Wow.
programming active. I mean, I had 2,200 alters and I've only reintegrated 45. So yeah, I've still got programming. Lots of programming.
Well, I appreciate you and whatever alters are joining us on this amazing show. You're all welcome. You're welcome.
You-
We 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 appreciate you telling us your story, um, and sharing with us and just moving on and just hearing more about what your experiences have been. And God, please, just to shine a light on these horrific acts on children. I mean, to do this, children and animals, to me, when you're hurting an innocent, children and animals, to me, spiritually are on a par. It's
Yeah,
hurting an innocent, defenseless being that is created by our divine creator, has a life and a purpose, and you have no right to do that. And there's karma for
agreed.
everything. Again, cause and effect. But it has to stop. And I so appreciate you, Penny, for your story so far. And I know we will be hearing more from you, and we will be having Arkim on the show with you as well. I look forward to that. Is there anything you would maybe just like to say in just as we wrap up for today? And where
Well,
can people find you?
um, most people find me on Facebook. Um, I am on Odyssey, Odyssee, and under Nachtwaffen Pilot. And I also have a Rumble and a Patreon and a Substack. But the Substack is The Substack I'm using because I had an Illuminati tutor who is a cousin, and he had some documents he wanted me to upload publicly. And so I'm using the Substack for that.
We will definitely be having all your details in the description area.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm muted again. No, I'm not muted again.
No, you're not muted. So I'll send you all of that in an email, and I look forward to the next one. And thank you, audience, for
Absolutely.
listening.
We so appreciate you guys. And I was just saying on one of the other shows as well, so much Montauk stuff is coming to the fore now.
Mhm.
For me anyway, I mean, I know it's always been there, but for me, this has been such a journey of
Um,
opening
Mon
my eyes. I'm this farm girl
Montauk
that's,
used
mm,
Montauk used to be just the perps talking.
yeah,
It's only been in the last 4 years that the victims, the survivors, have been talking.
yeah, exactly,
And that
exactly.
makes a huge difference.
Difference. Exactly,
So,
exactly. Okay, guys, look forward to seeing you all again. And thank you, Penny. God bless you all. Give us a like, share, subscribe, please. This is how we get this information out there. And this is for sure the information that we need to be sharing. So please comment, like, subscribe, share. It's what gets the algorithms up and gets the information to those that need to see it. Take good care, everybody. God bless you all and have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful weekend. Bye, everyone.